Good morning, everyone.
Here we are.
Here we are. My name is Jimmy Vong. I am the clinical social worker at the University of Michigan-Dearborn at CAPS, and this is my colleague, Jessica. Please introduce yourself.
I'm a counselor at CAPS as well, so a colleague of Jimmy's. Cool. And we're here to talk about how we can take care of ourselves with all this screen time that we all need to be doing lately.
So yesterday, Jessica and I had a more casual conversation in regards to today's presentation, and we did a recording of it. So what we're planning to do is that we're going to play this video, but at any point, anytime, feel free to ask any questions. If the question is more in depth and requires a bigger audience to participate, we definitely can pause the video and interact in that and moving forward with that. However, if you feel more personalized with this, we can definitely respond back to the Q&A box. At any point, if you have any questions directed just specifically for us, we can definitely answer for yourself in the Q&A box. All right?
Sounds good.
Just give us a thumbs up or okay, that you can hear the audio just fine. Hi, everyone. My name is Jimmy Vong. I am the social worker at the University of Michigan-Dearborn at CAPS.
And I am I'm a counselor on another staff clinician like Jimmy on the staff of CAPS. And we're here to talk about feeling burned out from screen time. Jimmy, that's certainly something I've been feeling. Jimmy, is that getting to you too?
For sure. I think for this past almost 8 to 10 weeks now, we've been staring at our computer, and everything that we're obligated to do is on a computer or on a television screen or any sort of monitor, right? If you want to socialize, if you want to complete your work, you're driven and encouraged to use a computer to do so.
Yeah, and I find it's even, you get sort of hooked into it so that by the time you get done doing all the things you are obligated to do on the screen, you kind of you don't even know how to disconnect, and you find yourself binge watching something.
For sure.
In your downtime.
I feel like our escape now is encouraged to utilize more screen time, like watching Netflix or Zooming with friends for social approaches, right? Or social interaction. And that's been hard because, on one hand, you want to encourage, hey, don't isolate yourself. You Zoom somebody, FaceTime somebody, reach out to somebody. However,
and that is important.
That is important. And is there a separation? Is one also burning you out, adding more additional burnt out because you're so focusing on looking at the screen on a daily basis?
Right, and there's also a big distinction between just sitting in front of a screen, absorbing information, like from a webinar or a lecture or whatever, and being in some kind of interactive mode, the way you and I are here, which that can be actually a refreshing change because we all need FaceTime with people and to be exchanging verbally as well.
No, I can totally agree. Like just right now, I feel more energized just sitting here having the words exchanged between you. Whereas I'm sitting there through a training, watching a lecture, I can only imagine how long I can do that for. Because, your neck, your posture, you're looking at the same direction for so long, it's draining.
It is.
It's mentally, it's challenging mentally for me and a lot of folks.
What would you say are some of the key things that we need to be paying attention to, and what can we do?
So I think what we can recognize is that technology can enhance our life, benefit ourselves, and create some sort of wellness for us because it creates a great way for us to communicate with people, but it also can become an addiction. What I can recognize as of lately is that all my friends and peers and colleagues too are more vocal on social media, are more in tune to the news on the computer. We're always utilizing this computer for everything. And they said that on average, a person opens up their phone 80 times a day. So if you're emailing through your phone, if you're FaceTiming or Zoom meeting through your phone or computer, you're constantly having it on you. I'm sorry, can you repeat your original question? I kind of lost track of thought.
Oh, well, I think you're addressing it. I was asking you what are some of the key issues, but what are some things that we can do to help ourselves not get so drained?
I think setting up meaningful screen time is important. Setting reasonable hours of what is appropriate for you to do and not to do. I know it's easy for me to get lost and go to addictive websites like watching like social media, Facebook or YouTube, right? So setting up right amount of time to dedicate towards work, right amount of time that you are allowing yourself, limitation yourself on what you can do to social media. If you can't limit yourself, like because you're noticing yourself exceeding the limit, maybe you start looking at different alternative routes. Maybe you need to remove the app or add an additional password to log in to things that makes it add more friction for you to approach these apps. That's kind of being too excessive at this time.
Oh, like installing some small obstacle to.
For sure.
Uh-huh.
What we can note is that in past studies that anytime you add an obstacle in front of you, you're less likely to try go against it. And if it's your own doing, it's like that guilty answering yourself, right? Like guilty conscious.
Yeah, well, I can also see how that would work just kind of as a reminder, because if you have a clear intention to reduce your, I don't know what, Snapchat time, that if each time you go to that app, you encounter a small obstacle, it can act as a reminder, oh, right, I had that intention, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that can be very helpful.
Yeah.
I heard another suggestion that I think is excellent, and that's going to be in this little 10-minute NPR radio talk that we'll post in the chat, and that is to have. So if your normal go-to for just kind of zoning out, relaxation time is to go to your phone, and you'd like to shift that habit, recharge your phone in another room. And have something easily visible and available, like Sudoku or a book or whatever else you might enjoy doing in your downtime. Have it visible and available so that you'll be more inclined to go there instead, and then you can start changing up your routines.
Mm-hmm. What you and I can both note, right, from this discussion as far as that less screen time equals stronger wellness overall, better attention span, less stress, right?
Yeah.
And the less time you're off the computer means more time you can actually sleep, right? Because sleep is so important.
For sure. What about feeling isolated? I think a lot of people may be feeling kind of cut off, like how come nobody's calling me or nobody's setting up a Zoom date? What would you do? What would you suggest there?
I think anytime that you start feeling down upon yourself and you're feeling like no one's reaching out to you, I'd like to encourage that person to take initiative. Everyone is going through this pandemic together at this time.
Yeah.
And we don't know how it's affecting everyone. People who are potentially very social people could be really struggling right now. What we can note within our own self and in our own field is when people struggle, they deal with it in a very odd and unique way themselves, because this is very individually based, right?
Yeah.
I can speak for myself. I'm a very social person, and on weekends I tend to be sick. I see my friends, I go to social gatherings, and as of lately, for this past 10 weeks, I've been really struggling with changing my mindset, because my mindset is stuck on the previous week. I'm not able to reset. So what I'm encouraging myself to do is just take the initiative to reach out to my peers and say, hey, how have you been? Developing a more in-depth, meaningful conversation that's very and make it more genuine with people. And think about it, is when you reach out to people, you become the giver, right? You're giving that space and that energy to that person, and it honestly it affects your mood instantly. Because now
I think that's huge, what you just said, Jimmy, because, if I'm feeling needy, and from that, even in that place, if I can find the motivation to reach out to anyone who might be also feeling a bit isolated, it turns my energy around. It's a complete, it's like a 180. And the thing is that I always assume that if I'm feeling isolated and cut off in this current environment, chances are very, very good that whoever I reach out to is going to be feeling a bit of that as well.
Right.
So you as you said, you're turning yourself into a giver, and that's what we all need to be participating with each other more. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I guess my question for you is, if the person is feeling like they're unable to reach out, how can we help them motivate themselves?
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I think that for most people, the biggest barrier is that feeling of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
So I would suggest consider who is the person in your life that you feel safest with, and that might be your counselor, and just send out a flare, send out an email and say, I'm feeling really vulnerable.
Right. No, I agree. And I hope that finding yourself wanting to change the scenery in your day-to-day routine, I hope that's enough motivational factor to contribute to your life. Saying, I want something to change. I can't deal with this on my own. And it's okay to add people like supportive factors, like friends and family in a discussion. You know, you don't have to go through this alone, and you can definitely change the topic. You don't have to talk to yourself on a daily basis feeling bad about yourself, right?
Yeah.
I know it's hard to see that on a day-to-day routine. So adding someone like a support system is great for us during this time.
Yeah. And you know, as you were talking, I had another thought. And that is that, you know, I suggested reaching out to whoever you feel safest with. But you could also, something that can also be very, very helpful is just go out for a walk outdoors. Nobody's telling us that we have to stay indoors all the time. Go out, get into the sunshine, and wave at people when you see them on the other side of the street. Holler hello. Just, you know, it's a non-risky way of connecting with people. You're not asking, you know, for their life story or giving them yours, you know, but just giving them a smile and a wave. And sometimes people don't respond, but most of the time they will. And that can just those simple actions can really lift your spirits.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for noting that. I think there's a big misconception right now with the ordinance that's been placed. I think folks are concerned that they're not allowed to leave their house. You know, there's a lot of misinformation out right at this time, but going for walks is perfectly fine. I believe they just lifted the ordinance where you're able to go golfing and fishing now again. As long as you maintain a safe distance, you know, as long as you protect yourself, you can still interact with people outside in the outside world and you can still be safe.
Yeah. And being outdoors in fresh air and sunshine that's really just what the doctor orders when it comes to recovering from screen time.
I wonder if, you know, if we can kind of play both environment. Like if you work at home, could you bring your laptop outside your patio so that you can enjoy different scenery and you're able to look away for a second and just look at the trees or the sky. So that way your eyes is not burnt out by the UV light from the computer, you know?
Right, and just get that refreshment.
Right.
Yeah. Where I have one of the advantages of working at home right now for me is that when in my CAPS office, I don't have a window, but where I am right now, I can look out the window. And for most people working at home, you know, there's a window somewhere, and that can just that momentary.
Right behind me.
Yep. I can look out your window too.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. So speaking of spaces, another thing that I think is really, really helpful is setting up a specific area for your computer time. I'm lucky enough that I have a dedicated room that I can use as an office. But even even if you're living in a studio or a dorm room, you can define one area of that space as your computer area. And then when you step out of that space, for example, go across the room and sit on your bed, you get a feeling of disconnecting from that whole supercharged energy of media.
I'm sorry, I lost train of thought. You're asking?
Yeah, no, I just came to a natural stop.
I apologize. This is what happens when we're on a computer all day, and we can pause it.
Yeah, because we just got a reminder from a participant in the chat to just let everybody know that counseling is still, we're going strong. The only thing we're not doing online is group counseling, although we're even considering that. But we are here, we are available. So reach out. We're here.
And that last part, snippet part, that was actually real. That wasn't planned. I did lose my train of thought because my mind and body and eyes has been focused so much on the screen that sometimes your attention span just kind of loses train of thought. So
and you are so not alone in that, especially right now. Wow. Okay, let's keep going.
Oh, there shouldn't be. There should be no. Can you see titanium open right now on my screen? Okay, Bernie. Okay, I think that's something. It's not us. Okay. Recognize in that moment, my attention span was like,
whoop. Sure, it's happening. It's happening to all of us.
Yeah, it's been tough on me, and I'm constantly apologizing for things that my body's not used to. You know, and I'm trying to be healthier. So when we talk about being more regulating and limiting ourselves, it's so important to just get up when you're recognizing, like right now, like I think at the end of this recording, I need to get up, go for some fresh air so that my body can make some changes, like I just feel it on my neck right now, and it's just, it's tough.
Just standing up, walking around the room. Going over to the stove and make yourself a cup of coffee or whatever it is. You mentioned, didn't you mention in one of our conversations recently, you were thinking of setting it up so that you could stand at your computer?
Yeah, there is a standing table because I'm a 6'2" guy, and these desks are made for average people, and I'm not average. So I actually have my laptop sitting on a box right now because it's so short. I'll be hunching like this, right? And it's really bad posture. And I need to figure out a unique way to change the scenery, because every desk that I sit at is always going to be too small, too short for me.
Yeah, well, I'm no 6'2", but even I have my laptop on a big fat book.
Yeah.
So it's what we're talking about is personalizing adapting your space so that it can be more supportive to your habits and how you feel good in your body.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
So have you picked up anything fun to reduce your screen time, Jessica?
Well, I'm certainly loving books again.
Yeah.
and for me, that's going back to books, loving books again. But for some of our young viewers, it might be discovering books for the first time. Books are there's a whole different feel, to having a book in your hand and turning those pages physically, and you can go back and read over a sentence if you didn't quite get it, or if you just really enjoyed the language. There's a different relationship with a book, and it can be a great way to wind your brain down after a lot of screen time, particularly before bed.
Yeah, I picked up. I'm trying to pick up new hobbies again. I've been doing art for a long time now, but lately I kind of want to get back to like my childhood and do some Legos, burn some time, or do things I hate, but then make me feel a lot better about myself, like deep cleaning,
Yes.
I hate cleaning, but when I do it, I feel so good.
Oh, I'm with you there. When it comes to the end of the weekend, I'm like, I really don't feel like cleaning the kitchen. Yeah. But if I don't, it'll be just so great. It'll be so depressing to come up here and make breakfast in the morning. And that gets me to do it. And then it really, we're spending so much time in our living area, in our living spaces, that when you do keep it clean and orderly, it lifts your spirits. And then you can thank yourself. You just give yourself a little pat on the back.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. So what if we are working with someone, or someone just reaching out to us for help? They're feeling pretty hopeless because everything has kind of been mentioning that this may be for a long, long time, and they're recognizing the early burnt out stages from being on the screen for so long. What do you think we should hold on to help that person?
Well, I think as you pointed out earlier, I think it's really unique to the individual.
Yeah.
But I think it's also, it's easy to look at what's going on in the world as a problem or a barrier. But it goes back to that, what they say. I don't read or speak Chinese, but I'm told that the Chinese character for crisis is danger. It's two characters, and one means danger and the other means opportunity. So buried in this very, very challenging and certainly crisis time, there is that sense of, okay, what's possible? What's the door here? How can we look at this differently and maximize the opportunity that is held here? And that, I think, will very quickly give rise to hope.
Yeah, hope. No, I agree. Having hope and just sharing that hope conversation and continuing that conversation with everyone around you, like asking, what are your thoughts about moving forward with this? What are you hoping will change? Expressing genuine curiosity, what are your thoughts? And having those more meaningful conversations so that you can actually feel good about yourself rather than talking about the harsh time right now, because those conversations can be very, very challenging.
It can.
You're constantly repeating the same topic that's not seen so bright right now currently at the moment. It could be draining to a person's energy. Yeah.
I think the world is changing in ways that we can't predict. I don't think we're going to be going back to just exactly the way things were, that as we move through this and out the other side, which eventually we will, it's going to be a different world, but we will move through this. And I think asking each other about, what would you like to do when you can travel again? What would you like to do when you can meet with friends again? And trading those, exchanging those dreams and visions and sharing that excitement.
No, I agree. I know my personal self has been shared with my friends. I can't wait to go barbecue. I can't wait to go play volleyball. I can't wait to go to a park again where we don't have to social distance ourselves and just give a really big nice hug. Like, I can't wait today. Just having those, that motivational thought process is like, I can't wait to just hug my friends.
Yeah. Well, and I haven't had a hug today, but just hearing you talk about that, I feel better.
True. Yeah.
I almost feel as though I've had a hug. Yeah.
So I think I have a question for you though. Since you have experience teaching, what would you recommend for your students to do when they say they're burning themselves out studying on a screen, potentially moving forward in the fall semester?
Yeah, well, that's a challenging one for me because I've never taught a course online. I've only taught in the classroom. But I guess my best answer is pace yourself and take breaks. And also, I think a lot of us are finding, and this has certainly been well demonstrated, that giving yourself structure in this strange, environment where there's not the same sort of delineation of weekday and weekend and that sort of thing. Giving yourself your own sense of structure in the days can be very, very supportive. So I would say setting up specific study times for your various different courses. Tuesdays from 2 to 4 is when I do my calculus homework, or I'm just making stuff up. But I think structure can be very, very helpful. And as I said, taking breaks and sticking to them.
Yeah. I would encourage, depending on who you are as a person, if you're a audio learner, right, recording yourself reading this out loud and then replaying it to yourself, stepping away from or reading it or putting it out. Yeah. Or if you're a reader or writing learner, print it out rather than just looking at a screen all day. Giving yourself a different approaches to strengthen your strength, right? We all have our weaknesses and strength, and how we learn is our best way to learn. So you utilize that approach. Like, if you like to hear things, why not listen to an audiobook? Or you'd like to hear yourself read to yourself again.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. Yeah. If you're taking a course, if you have friends that taking the same course, you can maybe even take turns reading parts of it to each other.
Right, right. I know we're at odd times right now, but printing something off, writing it, stepping away from the computer, do yourself a favor, because
Yeah.
we can know right now, looking at a screen for all day can be damaging.
Yeah. Now, neither the brain nor the body likes constant repetition.
For sure.
So we need to change things up as much as possible.
Yeah.
So that interesting combination. The meeting. I was talking about structure, and knowing what the plan for the day is. So you've got the predictability factor, but then also, that structure and that schedule has to have a lot of variety and change in it. So you're getting both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I kind of want to review some of the tips that we kind of did together, so that way our audience can remember, in case they miss anything. So at this time, I think it's important that you grab a note or a pen, so something that you can kind of just jot down for yourself, so that it works in your favor, depending on who you are as a person. So number one, we said that was track down your screen time. It's really important to know like how many hours you are spending on work related stuff, how many hours you're spending on social related stuff on your computer, or just something private or more personal, like email, right? Number two is to turn off your notification. It's been acknowledged that anytime we see something pop up on our phone or computer, we want to reply to it. We're naturally human pleasers. We're people pleasers.
Yeah.
So we want to present ourselves in a manner that it's look highly viewed upon. So,
and we certainly don't need to be reminded of the world news every 10 minutes.
Right. And I think number three was adding friction, adding additional steps. That's deleting your app, or that's changing the password, or that's adding a password. Do so that way you are reminding yourself not to do something that you are trying to better manage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And number five was to block addictive websites like Facebook or Twitter or YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Those can take away from meaningful screen time, because if you are trying to work, right? It's been recorded that as much as you want to be the best worker you want to be, if there is that access to check out Facebook for 5-10 seconds, that 10 seconds can turn into 5 minutes while working, right? And I think I'm guilty. I think most of my colleagues are guilty of doing that.
Sure.
And it's hard to deal with. So number five, leaving your phone or laptop in a separate room. We talked about going for walks. We talked about separating ourselves from giving ourselves some time to work on ourselves. So if you go for a walk, it's so easy for me to look at my phone. Like we noted the number 80. On average, that's how many times we check our phone. So if you want to start changing that number, it starts with leaving it elsewhere and not always on you.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're going for a walk, you probably want to have it with you for safety reasons. But, here's a radical thought. Turn it off.
Yeah. That's always been a concern too. Turn it off and carry it on you if you want to do it in that manner.
Yeah.
Or honestly, they have this like password lock on this iPhone, or you can, it's only emergency call only. You can probably set up in that manner where you're not trying to look at it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Just, give yourself an hour's break that way now and then. Yep.
Yeah. And I think the key point is to be more productive and reduce our stress with less screen time, right?
Yeah.
I hope that everything that we shared today will be helpful. Or is there anything else that you want to touch bases with, Jessica?
Well, I just would want to add that we are in no way telling you not to talk to each other and not to FaceTime and Zoom with each other. We all need that, absolutely, for sure. We're actually talking more about the passive screen time, where you're just the watcher, just the listener.
Yeah.
And just wanting us all to be able to feel a little lighter, a little freer, and a little more appreciative of the technology without it taking over our lives.
For sure. Yeah. Which has been very predominantly in our lives as of lately, It's everything that we have to do. So let's hold on to that hope that this will change soon, or when it does change. and let's work on it together in that way that we have our natural support system and new support system so we can move forward with this.
Yeah.
Let's protect ourselves from feeling in a bad place. It's important to check ourselves.
Well, it's great talking to you today, Jimmy. It's always good. I wish I could see you in person. I'd give you a big collegial hug.
Same. All right. Should I pause? Okay. Stop recording?
Yes.
Cool. So do we have any questions? Are there any key points that we liked a lot? Some things that you want to incorporate in your own life after today's webinar?
I'm gonna, while we're waiting to see if anybody chimes in, I'm gonna post, I have posted in the chat a link to the NPR, that it's just a 10-minute program on taking care of screen time overload that I found very helpful. And I've also just reminded us of the contact information for CAPS for counseling, which is, we are here and we're alive and we are ready to respond to you. And I'm also going to now post a direct link to, no, that didn't work. Well, I will post a direct link to a previous webcast from a few weeks ago on screen time recovery practices. And just as I say that, my screen is going black, so I'm not able to post that link now. But if you go to the CAPS website, and I have posted that link, and look for a previous webinar entitled Simple Self-Care Screen Time Recovery from April 3rd, you'll find some very, very useful practical tips for taking care of our physical and mental health. Over to you, Jimmy.
Oh, sorry. I shared something that wasn't supposed to be shared, so we're going to have to edit this video and let Sarah know before we post anything. So I accidentally shared some of my titanium by accident, so just want to be aware. So before we upload this video, we're going to have to do some editing.
Okay.
That being said, the reason I turned on titanium is I wanted to check in other workshops this week so that we can announce it to the audience at this time. However, because of being caught off guard, I want to not reshare our system that has confidential information on it. So this is probably all snipped out out of the broadcast, but
okay, so we'll sign off for now.
Yeah. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.